Hi, my name is Joe McCauley, and my favorite thing is my beautiful, luscious, fat body.
Welcome to the Finding Favorites podcast, where we explore your favorite things without using an algorithm. Here's your host, Leah Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Finding Favorites. I'm your host, Leah Jones. It is a beautiful Sunday in Chicago. So I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet so I can go outside and enjoy the weather, and I hope you do too. This week on the podcast, I'm talking to Joe McCauley. She is a dear friend. We've known each other, you'll hear, for over 15 years in Chicago. We go to the same synagogue together. We know each other from blogging. This episode is about body acceptance, living in a fat body. We talk about dieting. We talk about preeclampsia. We talk about fat phobia, medical fat phobia. So if any of those, and a little bit about birth trauma. So if any of those topics are triggering to you, I wanted to put a warning up front. It is a really powerful conversation. And I think overall, I think it's a very positive conversation. But if you are avoiding those topics for any reason, I just want to let you know up front. Other than that, we are well into the month of, we are in Elul. We are headed towards Rosh Hashanah, which if you are not Jewish this year, it will, even if you are Jewish, it feels really early this year. Erev Rosh Hashanah is on Labor Day. So if your office has a return to work plan for the day after Labor Day, probably none of the Jews you work with will be at work that day, because it is Rosh Hashanah. And it's really exciting to be headed to a new year. Very worrisome with the Delta variant tracking upwards almost everywhere. But I saw that there's approval now for people who are immunocompromised to get a booster shot, and hopefully people who have not been able to access the vaccine are able to access it. And all of you sending kids under 12 back to school, I hope you have the support of good governors like Governor Pritzker, who has put in a mask mandate for all schools, public and private, in this state. If they don't wear masks, they are not allowed to compete in any sports. And so it is good to see leadership on the mask front, even though there's not the strong leadership on the vaccine front that we would hope for, or that I hope for. Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say. So stay safe, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and enjoy your favorite things. Hello and welcome to Finding Favorites. I'm your host, Leah Jones, and this is the podcast where we learn about people's favorite things and get recommendations without using an algorithm. I'm excited every week to introduce my guest, but this week I am so excited because my guest is the only person who has ever road tripped with me to Terre Haute, Indiana, to perform at the Indiana Theater on Wabash Avenue. My guest today is Joe McCauley. She is like one of my OG Chicago friends. We met on a comic bulletin board, and then again, we're friends from our synagogue, in and out of each other's lives for going on 15 years, I bet. She's a product manager in ad tech, and she is just one of my dearest. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
I'm so good, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's true. We met through our comedy blogs, our comedy and weight loss blogs, which we'll tie in later.
It will. It certainly will. And it's been a long time. You know, you said 15 years, but I think it's been probably, I remember following your blog when you were in London.
Oh, 2003.
So yeah, so it might even be a little before comedy or I think we've met a few times on the
Yeah.
internet back in the day,
Yes.
and then we eventually met in person, which was probably more like 15 years ago. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
because you knew me before Judaism was even like a hint in
I
my brain.
did.
Yeah.
I did. And that was one of the things that really drew me into you, because I remember learning a lot about Judaism through you, which I appreciated and found very surprising. And I remember you breaking out the service, or just like what to expect when you go to a Jewish
Mm-hmm.
service, and having this phenomenal, just breaking everything out and really explaining each piece of it. And I think about that a lot. I think
Yeah.
about it even when I'm in service today. And I used pieces of that to explain the importance of certain pieces of the service to my daughter. And so it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool to hear. Yeah. For people listening who don't know, I mean, people listening know I converted to Judaism because I don't shut up about it. But I also blogged my whole conversion process.
Mhm.
I started blogging when I lived in London. I came back, I was hooked on blogging. And then when I started studying Judaism, like I blogged all of it. And part of it was like about the culture shock of going to Jewish spaces
Yes,
and services. If you grow up going to churches, Shabbat services at a synagogue are very weird.
they are. They are. I can attest to that. It's a different. It's certainly a different. I mean, it's odd, right?
Yeah.
It's almost exclusively in another language that you
Yep.
don't understand, and there's so much ritual and there's so much tradition in it that you do feel lost. I think if you didn't grow up with it.
Yeah. One of the things that I still find bananas is that there's no sheet music. There's no hymnal. There's no
Oh,
that there's although I have some like real old school Gates of Prayers, like 1920s prayer books, and they do have some sheet music. So cuz one of the beautiful things about Judaism is the prayers and the songs have so many tunes that work with them.
yes.
But you don't know that when it's your first few times going. You're just like, how does
Mhm.
everybody know what we're doing? It didn't sound like this last week. What do you mean
Yes,
Adon Olam is you're singing it to take me out to the base mall? What is happening?
right,
Yeah.
right. You don't know if it's going to be a Debbie Friedman week. You don't know.
You don't
You
know.
know.
Right. It's going to be Debbie Friedman. It's going to be Craig Taubman. It's going to be Camp Ramah. Is it going to be Oz Rui? You have somebody who grew up Orthodox, but now observes as a reform, and so they're bringing up some of their some of the things they knew growing up in an Orthodox. It's you don't know what to expect.
Mhm. Yep. Keeps you on your toes.
Keeps you on your toes. The movements are really subtle. I for a long time had so in our synagogue we say the Amidah once and we say it out loud.
Mhm.
But like at a more traditional synagogue, there's the silent Amidah. It's a silent prayer. And then there's a repetition. And I was like obsessed. I was like, but how do you learn how to say it if it's always silent? Like, how are you supposed to learn a prayer if you never hear the prayer?
That's a really great
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
But then this summer, I learned that everybody doesn't have an internal monologue and everybody doesn't hear words in their head when they read.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So when you read, do you hear
Yes.
yourself in your brain
Yes.
reading it?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Same thing if I'm walking through my home and singing music in my head. I'm not actually singing music, but there's
Right.
music in my head constantly.
Yes. So I have learned this summer that that is not every brain.
Wow.
And so my friend Ezra, who lives upstairs, doesn't have, he thought that an earworm just meant you really wanted to hear the song.
No.
I'm like, no, it's a worm in your head.
Yes.
It's a 4
And
measure
it sure
repeating
is,
loop.
just over and over. I'm levitating. I'm levitating. I'm levitating. I'm
Yeah.
still levitating.
Yeah.
This summer, anyway.
Right. And so other people, when they read the silent Amida, aren't worried about what it sounds like because they're not hearing it in their head.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that explains. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
If
That's
you want to
fascinating.
ruin any future dinner party you go to,
Okay. I'm
ask
pretty good at that. But yeah.
ask this question.
Yes. Yes.
You just need either one person who doesn't have an inner voice or only one person who does, and then you'll talk about it for 3 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Because I asked Ezra, I was like, well, how do you count reps at the gym? How do you count if you're not saying the words in your head?
Wow. I wonder if this is also tied into ADHD in any way because I never shut up. I never
Up
shut
here,
up.
right? It
Right,
never
right.
stops.
Yes.
Yeah.
In my head, my inner
Mm-hmm.
voice does not stop. And
It's
it's
a constant
going
running monologue.
so much faster than the rest of me that I forget things and I get distracted and then
Yes.
I just have a really hard time prioritizing tasks. And well, looky here. I didn't realize we were signing into therapy, but thank you, Leah.
You're welcome. Yeah. Look up, I don't know what hashtag will get you to inner monologue TikTok. But
Okay.
it's there. You'll get there. Well, now that we're talking about it, TikTok will be like, oh, you wanted to see these?
It'll just appear.
Yeah.
Thanks, TikTok.
Yeah. I had to put a timer on it.
Did you? That's
Yeah.
interesting. I can't stop. I just cannot stop swiping. It sucks you in.
It does.
It's a really good algorithm. As someone who works in ad tech and is fascinated by algorithms and AI in general and all of that sort of thing, and it's something I work on, I am just so impressed with. I'm so impressed. I'm so annoyed. I'm so jealous about it. It's there's a lot of complex feelings with it, but it is a good algorithm.
Yeah, I have found it. I had it on my phone. I took it off my phone. I had it on my phone around the election.
I remember you taking it off your phone. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if I'm going to sleep at all, like I took it off and then I put it back on. And the only problem with the timer is it's really easy to to add a half hour. I have I essentially snooze button my TikTok to give myself more time. And I'm like, oh, I stayed up till midnight. I get 2 more hours. And then the next day I'm like, oh, well, those 2 hours were last night. It doesn't count. So now I need 2 more hours.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's how I would manage that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right. So we met through blogs.
Yes.
A million years ago. I was doing stand-up comedy. You were doing improv and comedy sports.
Yes. Very involved. Yes.
Very involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And your team came to an event in my hometown.
You hired us. Are you kidding? That was so amazing to us little comedy sports people that we were going on the road and doing a little tour. And it was so much fun. Everything about that show was so much fun, and that entire experience. And I will be forever grateful for getting to have my very first square donut.
Yes.
Will remain in my heart forever. What an experience. Terre Haute, you got donuts. You know how to do a good donut.
They do a good donut. They are, as the name implies, square donuts. They don't waste the dough by making them round.
Nope.
It's a very efficient use of donut dough. Mm-hmm. And so all their dough, except for the tractor wheel, which is a wheel, they're all square. basic glazed donut. And they're not, their special donuts are also just outstanding.
I remember coming over to your house years ago and being so impressed by your square donut sign, because you have a very large square donut sign.
I
And
do.
it felt like coming home. Like, oh, I get it. Yeah.
My dad took it out of the Square Donuts dumpster, I believe, or out of their alley.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
They've
I
got a
love
new
that.
sign. My dad drove by at the right time. He was like, I will be taking that home. And he put it in the garage. And eventually he was like, you know what your apartment needs? It needs a Square Donut sign. And he just like sent it up to Chicago.
I love your dad.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful. Yeah.
So I saw that you and your fam are doing everything to like suck the marrow out of the rest of the summer. What are some of your
Yes.
fun summer activities?
Yes. Well, it's so I have a 14-year-old daughter, and it's really the two of us, and we are um still recovering from the pandemic and still
Mm-hmm.
recovering from what was a very difficult school year for her. So we have been spending as much time just doing as much fun stuff as possible. We have this family tradition where we say when we're on vacation, we eat ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just treating the rest of summer like vacation. And
Awesome.
so, yes, we're eating ice cream every day. So I live in Evanston, so I'm able to really sample a lot of goods because we're not far from Homer's. Have you been to
Mm.
Homer's?
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe only
that's
once, but Homer's is outstanding.
yeah, Homer's is great. And then we have the Frio Gelato, not far from where we live,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like a nice walk. And then if you go on to Howard, there's some really great Mexican ice cream that we really enjoy. So yeah, we've been trying to do that. Mads, my daughter, just got done with Girls Rock, which was an incredible experience. I think this was her seventh summer doing Girls Rock. And if I could just do a plug for Girls Rock, because they are an incredible organization, and it's just this beautiful week long day camp essentially for kids, um, primarily girls, but it is gender nonconforming. So it supports trans youth, it supports non binary youth, and it really does a wonderful job of having a beautiful, inclusive, creative space that just does great things. So we just finished Girls Rock. We're super excited about that.
Was
And
there did they get to perform at the end of camp this year?
so they got to perform, but it was just on Zoom. Normally they perform
Mm,
at Talia Hall, which is a
yeah.
pretty yeah, which is a pretty big. They have like two major endings to camp. The one you have your performance at Thalia Hall, and then they also go to a very fancy recording studio here in Chicago and get to actually record their song in an actual recording studio. And they haven't been able to do that either, and that's hard. But Matt's is all in on Girls Rock. So we just got done with that. Her band this year was called the Sour Patch Kids.
Nice.
Yes. So
And what
she
instrument is Matt? Is she are they a drummer?
she's keys. She's on keys.
Keys. Okay.
She started on drums, but has since morphed into keys. So
Okay.
yes, yes. And they were really disappointed that they couldn't dress like Sour Patch Kids. They really wanted that performance to be in a mono yellow or a mono orange face paint kind of situation, which and hair, you know.
Right.
Mads was wanting, yeah. So, but they did make a really cute band poster with their adorable sweet faces as Sour Patch Kids, so that was super cute. But it teaches so much. It's such a great program. It's just absolutely amazing. And you learn everything from the business aspects of being in a band and t-shirt sales, creating t-shirts, creating your merch, creating your posters and making sure you get your signage out and promoting yourself and songwriting. And the funny thing about Mads being on keys is Mads doesn't really know how to play keys, but
Mm-hmm.
what Girls Rock teaches you is just yes and your way through it, and just they teach you enough, like
Yeah.
enough to do like simple chords, and it all comes out together where they do pretty impressive music. So very excited that we got to partake in that, even if it was a Zoom situation this year.
Were were was the band together for their performance?
No, no. So they record everything very
Okay.
similarly to um, podcasting over
Yeah.
Zoom kind of thing. Yeah. So they just, I think they get it all into GarageBand, like each
Oh,
individual,
and then
and,
somebody
and then
edits.
they get to edit it together by their band leader, their band
Oh,
counselor. Yeah. And it's an interesting experience because then they can learn that as well if they'd
right.
like to, you know.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting, it's really cute.
Yeah.
It's so some of them made music videos this year, and
Yeah.
I laughed so hard at these little moody 9-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
making music videos of them sitting in their bed frowning. It's good. It's good.
That's awesome.
Warms the soul.
I so this weekend is Lollapalooza in Chicago. The weekend that we're recording this conversation. And just kind of like speaking of moody teenagers, I was downtown today and walking by kids on their way to Lollapalooza, and all I want is a slideshow or a quiz. I want an online quiz where you have to try and pick if the outfit is from 1993 Lollapalooza or 2021, because they are all dressing like we did in high school.
Wow.
It's it's too hot for flannel and jeans.
Sure, sure.
And I definitely saw like flannels and Doc Martens and, you know, maybe some cutoffs versus full jeans, but I saw kids walking by and I was like, they are just walking out of my yearbook.
I miss that. I miss being downtown for Lollapalooza
Yeah.
weekend. So now I'm a full-time remote employee. I don't have a Chicago office space anymore, but I miss being downtown for that. I used to work in a building that was across the street from a hotel that
Mm.
housed a lot of Lollapalooza goers,
Yeah.
and our conference windows would overlook a number of hotel rooms, and we would kind of line up and just watch the kids do drugs and things like that before they left. They never shut their blinds. So,
No.
nope.
So something that's new this year is drugs are legal, weed is
Oh,
legal.
you're right. You're right. That is different.
So our um our youngest, we had like an all-in lunch today for my marketing team.
Okay.
And our two youngest people on the team who are like 20 and 21, one's an intern, one just graduated college. They came in to work together and they said, we went to Starbucks to pick up our mobile orders and it's next door to a dispensary. So
Oh,
at Clark and Hubbard, there's a
sure, sure.
dispensary now.
I
And
didn't realize.
they
Yeah.
said it was like all the kids dressed for Lala getting their like lattes and then going and buying gummies or joints or
Uh,
whatever, because now it's I sound like Dare totally worked on me, and it did. And
oh, damn that
like,
Nancy Reagan.
yeah, and so they're all just carrying their Starbucks and then their Sunnyside. This is not an ad for Sunnyside, but like their dispensary bags that's very well branded, and they were just like selling everything outside, and it was bananas.
That's so different from the Lollapalooza of my youth. I went in 1993, I think.
Yeah,
It was the year of Pearl Jam and Chili Peppers and Pixies, and I forget who else was on that
yeah.
lineup. Lush. Anyway, that was the year I went, and I gotta say there was not a dispensary.
No, no.
No.
What is the topic we're here to talk about tonight?
Yeah, so I absolutely love listening to people talk about their favorite things. I think it's such I just when people are passionate about things and they have conversations about them, it's a beautiful thing. So my finding favorite is a complicated subject for me because it was something I really had to learn and I really had to work at to make it my favorite. So my favorite thing about me is my body, and I'm just here to talk about how much I love my body and how hard I work to be comfortable in a fat body.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here. Yeah.
I'm so excited
Yeah. I'm
because
so excited.
what I
Yeah.
previewed at the beginning was we were both like fat comic ladies who
Yes.
certainly cringe at the word fat, blogging about Weight Watchers
We
and our
I
points.
we blogged so much about that. I forgot until you mentioned at the start of this how much I used to talk about that. I was on at the time, I think you were doing Weight Watchers and
Yeah.
I was doing Spark. And I think it was called Spark. It was an online program.
Yeah.
I had already given up the ghost on Weight Watchers, but I remember, gosh, Leah, I remember a blog post you wrote about a Snickers bar and how, like, I'm just remembering this now as we're experiencing this podcast recording. You had written about a Snickers bar and how many points it was and how you negotiated your day to be able to have that Snickers bar. And
Ugh.
you also worked really hard at the science of it, which I appreciated then and I appreciate now.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how we remember these things and how it was so ingrained into our lives.
Right.
And it was, yes, I mean, I started my first venture with Weight Watchers. I started when I was 11 years old.
Oh my
I had
gosh.
I had a points tracker in my Trapper Keeper. Like in
Right.
my Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper, I had my points, like
The card,
little
the
the
slide
card,
rule.
the
Yeah.
slide rule thing. Yeah, 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 yeah. So and I'm older, so at the time it was yeah, it was points, but it was a little bit different than back then. I
Yeah.
also
I remember when I did, and I've done, when I did it, when we're talking about, everybody was like, oh, the new point system. So yeah, you were
yes,
on an older system.
yes, yes. And God bless my mom. I think she certainly tried to do the best she could by me. And in her defense, I was a very serious dancer. And it was something I was trying very hard to be successful at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And she was doing everything as she that she could in her power to support me because and this is still true to this day, that one of the things that makes me the most happiest and I love doing more than anything else is dance
Yeah.
classes, dancing in general. I anything to do with dance is something that brings me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. And she saw that, and she saw that I was at that point getting pretty successful at it and had an opportunity to go to a special school for dance. So I grew up in Saginaw, Michigan, and we had a school called the Center for the Performing Arts and the Arts, Performing Arts and Sciences. So I was a dance major there, and she was doing everything in her power to help me audition and get in and be
Mm-hmm.
successful at that. And she knew I wanted to go to Interlochen, and she did everything she could to help me achieve those goals. But man, what a can we swear here?
You may swear, yes.
What a mind fuck
Yeah.
it is, kind of growing up in that culture, and just how hard it is to escape from it's everywhere, right? It's just, I certainly apologized for my existence for so long because I am a fat person,
Mm-hmm.
and there was so much shame in that. There was so much shame in just existing and being alive and moving through the world. And there still certainly is, but I'm so much better at navigating it. I'm so much better at defending it. And I'm so much better, I hope, at encouraging and helping others navigate that and make sure that they're happy and healthy as well, because that's all
Yeah.
that's important. Um, so
So
yeah.
had a conversation today with a parent who their kid got super into hip hop dance during the
Hmm.
pandemic,
Hmm.
watching YouTube videos self-taught.
Yep.
And so this summer went off to her first camp, an overnight camp for dance, but she had
There.
never been to a class before
Oh,
and was immediately exposed to eating disorders
it's
and
hard.
called her parents and said, "Bring me home," because the way these girls are talking, she was like, I can't be around that.
Good for her.
And so
For
we were talking about how there are some dance schools in Chicago and in the Chicago region that are work really hard to break that cycle of
there
eating
are.
disorders in dance.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's a newer thing, and Chicago has some very supportive dance communities to
Mhm.
make sure that they're teaching to all bodies and they're supporting all bodies and allowing all bodies to enjoy dance, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful, amazing thing. It's so uh oh gosh, that breaks my heart. I'm so happy she was able to call home and say no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And to
it's
recognize it.
yes. That shows incredible emotional maturity for
Yeah.
a
It's
young.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, what would you say when you kind of look back at the signposts of how you've gotten to today, where you love your body and you are um you're so wonderful to be around, and I know part of it is because you feel like you're so grounded in your body. When you look at the signposts, what are some of the things what's one of those first actions that you took that you think really helped you move forward in your relationship with your body?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I think it was reading. I was at work years and years ago. I think it was around 2011, and I stumbled on Lindy West's article that she wrote for The Stranger.
Mhm.
I think it's just "Hello, I'm Fat," or I'm butchering the title, I'm sure, but that recognition and that really changed the course of my life, and really that kind of got me to be more aware and just start to think about how I navigate in this world and what is kind of working against me, because I have a larger body, and it was the first time I ever examined, like, wow, I am so committed and so obsessive about turning things in on time and being absolutely as good, and like, I am an overachiever at work, and I will work until midnight if I have to be that much better than everyone else, and to prove that just because I have a big body, I'm not lazy.
Mhm.
I put it into overdrive, and that was kind of the first time I ever took a step back, thought about it, and thought, well, shit,
Mhm.
maybe maybe there's like, well, what else am I doing, and what kind of accommodations am I making to make other people comfortable because I'm a fat person, like what. And also, God, it was the first time I saw somebody call themselves fat and it not be a negative thing and not
Yeah.
be a derogatory thing, and they were just saying, this is a descriptor, this is what I am, and I'm taking the shame out of this word, and I'm
Yeah.
just, this is just my existence, and my existence is never shameful.
Yeah.
And how dare you make me feel shameful
Mhm.
for existing? Yeah.
Oh boy, I got to tell you, on this, right? So like a whole whopping month into this breast cancer diagnosis and like, I don't know, 18 million meetings in with doctors.
Sure.
And when they don't have a gown that fits me,
Oh,
it's so, I'm like, hey, why would you add shame and embarrassment to this real shitty situation?
right?
Like,
Why?
why don't you think about like what it means to me as a new breast cancer patient not to have a gown that you can put on my body?
Right?
Yeah. And at the plastic surgeon, they were like, well, there's no shame here. And I was like, it's your whole business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
90%
little.
of your business is body shame. 10% is breast reconstruction. And that's a different story. But like, you're, I, you're a plastic surgeon. Don't
Yeah.
pretend,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
want, like, I guess at least with the gown that doesn't fit me, I'm like, that's your business model. I get it. But like, getting a breast biopsy so I say it and I'm like, do you have a gown that will fit me? Why don't you have a gown that will fit me? Like, why don't you have gowns that fit all bodies? I don't remember what I said. I use the word fat. I'll use it when they get out a cuff, like to do my blood
Yes.
pressure. I'm like, you got to
Yep.
get the fat one out.
Yep.
Oh, don't say that. I'm like, it's the word. It's a
It's the
descriptor.
word. Yep.
It doesn't, I say it,
Yep.
I said it. I had a bone scan this week and they wrap you in this, I don't know, like a Velcro thing to keep you still. And they tried to put my arms in it and it wouldn't reach. I was like, oh, you're going to have to get the fat one. They're like, no, don't say that. And I'm like, I'm going to. I'm going to force you to be, well, you're just going to be uncomfortable because I'm not going to have enough interactions with these people to change
Right.
it. But I'm going to use the word.
Yes. But that's how we change things.
Yeah.
And that's how we make things better. The body positivity movement is so incredible. And it's if you don't stand up for not only yourself or others, you're really doing a disservice to the people who have done so much work to get us as far as we have. And I'm reading an incredible book, and I would love to recommend it. There's actually 2 books, but the one I want to really mention first it's a book called Fearing the Black Body, and it's the racial origins of fat phobia.
Whoa.
And I really encourage any person with a body to take a deep look. It's a really easy read. It's fast, it's quick, and it's so important to understand that the origins of fat phobia are really racist. And the start of the body positivity movement was all done on the labor of Black women. And if we don't acknowledge that and help move that forward
Right.
in ways that represent the entire fat community. So, like you're asking for this, and Leah, it's so important to ask for these kinds of things at doctor's offices. But, I do the same thing, like when I'm scrolling Facebook and I see an ad for a cute dress, and then I click on it. And if I'm at the top range,
Yeah.
which I normally am because I'm a size 18, size 20. That's kind of usually the top range of things. I say, why aren't you more size inclusive? Even if the top range is a size 12, if it's a size 20 or it's a size 26,
Right.
no, we need more. We need, we have to just work hard for everyone. So, growing up in a body that was larger and a body that I worked so hard to try to slim down and make different and modify. I am so grateful for the body positivity movement, and I'm so grateful for the work of Black women who've done so much to get it off the ground and get it started. And I'm just I don't know. It's just so important to understand that even though it's complex and I have so much kind of emotion through all of this, I still have privilege through all of this.
Right.
Because I still can buy clothes online. I can go to a mall, and I can't go to every store, but I can go to some stores. And I have even some stores that are devoted just to larger bodies.
Yeah.
But there's people who can't even do that.
Right.
that sucks.
Yeah.
That's a problem, that people have to work so hard and be so stigmatized just to have clothing.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. So thank
Yeah.
you for doing that when you go to the doctors. And
Yeah, because I have white privilege when I go to the doctors. I have a master's in health communication, so I can
mhm,
like use their language with them about, patient care and continuity. And because there are plenty of people that just like that could stop their cancer treatment,
sure, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
To be so to get like a second gown to cover up your front, you know? But then when I went for my MRI and I was like, "Will you have a gown that fits me?" And she was offended because she was like,
Really?
"Of course I have a gown that will fit you. You will be swimming in this gown. It will be too big for you." And she was right. It was way too big. But it felt good to finally be in one that covered me.
That's like such a bare. I know it's just like it's. You would think being covered would be.
Right.
I don't know. When I travel, used to. I don't so much anymore, but I used to
Mhm.
travel a lot for work, and I would call ahead to hotels to say, "Will you have a towel I can wrap around my body," kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and that's because I don't want to have to schlep my own towel. It's bad enough I have to schlep a seatbelt extender,
Yep.
but you at least provide me the comfort of being able to walk from the shower to where my clothes are with a towel.
Yeah. Yeah, I just assume they won't work and I do.
Tell me your
Okay.
towel hack.
I take one. I wrap my hair with one. I
Yeah.
take another one and I tuck it under my boobs, and it
Okay.
goes on the front.
You got a titty towel. I
I
love
got it.
it.
Yeah, and then I take the third one and I cover the chair or the bed with it, and I just sit on it, and then I watch TV for a while, and it's
Oh,
my 3 towel approach.
oh, I love that moment of sitting and spacing out and
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
But if I'm traveling internationally, I'm not going to Israel or Europe without packing my own beach towel.
Yep.
Because I know for sure, unless I'm staying at the David Citadel by the Old City, they will not have a towel that fits me. It's the only hotel in the entire world I've ever been to with like monster towels.
Really?
Yeah, they
Huh.
have. I mean, I still dream about their towels, and I used that towel for one night, maybe 2 nights in 2006.
Wait, do they have how's their Israeli breakfast? How's the breakfast sitch there?
The
Is it good?
breakfast situation is off the chain.
You don't that's something people don't talk about enough or know about enough about traveling to Israel.
Is the hotel breakfast buffet?
Oh, it is of my dreams.
Yeah,
It is everything you could ever hope for and
yeah,
want, and it's
yeah. Here's the cheese section. Here's the
yep.
pickled vegetables.
Oh,
Here's the pastries.
yep,
Here's the salads, the breakfast salads, breakfast
yep,
olives.
yes.
Do you want espresso, cappuccino, drip coffee, orange juice, grapefruit juice, fresh
So
avocados?
so much, so much fruit, so much Nutella, so
Mm-hmm.
much, and then like
Oh, so much bread. Fresh
yes,
bread. Where it's just like here's a bread knife and a napkin. Be nice.
yep, yep. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
What hotel do you remember having the best breakfast when you were there?
Um, the I don't remember the name of the hotel, but it was in Tel Aviv, and
Mm-hmm.
it was the worst hotel room I've ever been in my life. But which I was so bummed because I was like, "There's no way it's gonna," like my my little fat girl heart was like, I was gonna sprint to that breakfast buffet,
Right.
and I thought, "Oh man." this room is so bad. It's so small. It's so sad. It's so dirty. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way. And then I went down there and it was like opening like it was just like, oh, like
Yes.
the sun came down and it was like a mile long,
Mm-hmm.
enormous, beautiful. It was in this danky basement, which was a little terrifying, but holy cow. They saved on those rooms, let me tell you, and they put
Yeah.
it all into the breakfast, and
Yep.
I'm here for it. Would I stay there again? Hell yes, I would, in a heartbeat. And that bed was like cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need this pandemic to end because I need an Israeli breakfast.
Uh-huh.
I need
I
some like salty cheese
oh, I can't wait
on
to
a
come back.
baguette.
Yes. Yes.
So, you read Lindy West. And that's
Yes.
for people who may not know, that is the column that eventually leads us to the book Shrill and the
Right.
TV show Shrill with Adie Bryant on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, so I read that, and that really starts to kind of put things in motion for me. And then I go to Banff, Canada on a work trip, and I come home and think I have mono. And I think I'm just so sick. So I go to the doctor, and it turns out I'm pregnant. Right. And that was very surprising for me because it wasn't something I thought. I mean, I sound so naive, but it was very surprising. So
Yeah.
I was pregnant, and let me tell you, being a fat person as a fat pregnant person is hard. It
Yeah.
ain't easy, right? And so it was the first time. Like, I've always had trouble with doctors, and I've always kind of like, I would go in and say like, oh, I think I have a problem with I think I have a skin infection, or I having some kind of issue with my psoriasis or something like that. And they would say, you know what you need is you need to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this doctor at one point saying to me, and like sitting me down and saying, I don't know if you know this, but I have something really difficult to say to you. You're obese. And I said, you are not George Clooney. So we're both disappointed, buddy.
Right.
So like, I've always had trouble with doctors, and that um, I had a very difficult pregnancy, and I had a difficult pregnancy because of my health, which
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do with my weight and
Right.
nothing to do with being overweight or underweight. It was nothing I could control. And I went through that entire pregnancy doubting myself and doubting every time something went wrong. And every time something seemed off, I thought, well, I'm fat. And this is how it is when you're fat. And
Right.
so I didn't listen to myself. I didn't trust my gut. I didn't listen to my body. And I almost died. And my daughter almost died. And I ended up with really severe preeclampsia, and I ended up with HELP syndrome. And it was a horrible, horrible experience. And Mads came incredibly early. And once I had her and we got through that, there was a certain amount of relief. She was in the NICU, and we were very like fortunate, and she was just there to get bigger. And once we
Mm-hmm.
got confirmation that I was okay and she was going to be okay, it was this huge sigh of relief. And then I got an infection in my C-section
Mm.
incision.
Yeah.
And when I went back to the doctor for that, I was just going in for my checkup. I didn't even realize I had an infection. And the doctor treated me so poorly and so horribly and made me feel the worst I've ever felt in my life that I ended up back into the hospital, admitted because I had to take care of the infection and needed some
Right.
IVs and things like that. So I ended up back in the hospital for a few days. And as I laid there while my daughter was in the NICU, because she wasn't home yet either, I just thought, fuck this doctor and fuck this
Mm-hmm.
life. And I can't, I can't do this. I can't, like, if I would have trusted myself, if I would have listened to my gut and not the voice in my head that he planted there that told me this was going to be hard because I was fat,
Right.
it was just such a huge turning point for me. And I remember crying and just being so emotional, gosh, hormones and all that, and just sobbing uncontrollably. And a nurse coming in and saying, you're going to be okay. What's wrong? And I said to that nurse, I said, I think I'm here because I'm fat and I don't trust myself and I'm not getting the care I need. And she said, well, let's take care of that. And
Mm.
so it was such like a turning point where it was like, it doesn't have to be this way. And
Yeah.
so that's when I really learned to advocate for myself and advocate for my body and appreciate that this body that has been judged and manipulated and disliked and hated for so long, it created a life that's beautiful and that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And this is the body that, it allows me to walk and get up every day and breathe and enjoy life. And I'm just going to do more to take care of it. And the first thing I could think to do is that cowboy or
That's Spidey.
hi, Spidey. Um, it's just, uh, I got to love my body.
Yep.
So from that point on, I kind of learned I need to be a better advocate for myself. And then I got into therapy and worked through that. And I started to really pay attention to who I was spending time with.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy spending time with other people who are also comfortable in their body. And
Yeah.
um, I have an incredible friend group. My friend Julia, specifically, my friend, um, my friend Sean. My friend Sean did a body positivity event um, shortly a few years after I had MADS, and that was
Mm-hmm.
another turning point because that event was the first time I ever saw a thin person cry about their body
Mm.
or talk negatively about their
Right.
body. And
Somebody whose body we think is the goal,
right,
still
right.
being unhappy in their own.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And so that was a huge turning point. And I just I I've just learned through that process and that experience and spending time with other people who are really comfortable in their body that life is short and I'm going to love every single roll and dimple and just get into it and just love it and appreciate it and find joy in it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I work very hard to do. And I feel really good about it. And if I could convince anyone else to have that same sort of joy, I feel like that's awesome. That's amazing. And I hope that I can give to the world the same kind of thing that I get from my friends Julia and my friend Sean, um, because they're very inspirational in that
Yeah.
way, and it's super cool. It's awesome.
I'm curious, the event that Sean organized, was it speakers? Was it, because I think do you ever go to Daybreaker or
I
you go or
do, I
yeah,
do.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Because when
That's so
I
me.
think of like Daybreaker is one of the things you do, I think that like really embodies all bodies.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so for those that don't know, Daybreaker is a completely sober AM morning rave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is an experience. So yeah, so Sean's event, Sean is an incredible event facilitator and does incredible work with consent and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Sean hosts cuddle parties, which
Mm-hmm.
are also something I partake in and really enjoy. And so it was more exercises and things like, I remember us um, just sharing experiences, talking about our body. We did exercises where we just, um, the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life was Sean had us stand in front of a mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone stood around you in front as you were standing in front of the mirror, and you could only say positive things about yourself.
Mm.
And I did it, and I just, I'm Leah, you know me, I cry very easily.
Yeah.
So I was just bawling, and it was so hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. And being in a shared having a shared experience where, like, seeing how hard it was for everyone else and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that this wasn't I had so much shame in being upset with my body that I didn't realize how shared it was or how common. It
Mm-hmm.
just felt like I was kind of in my own little fat world, and I just didn't realize. So hearing other people and seeing how hard they struggled. And then the second part of that exercise is everyone around you says positive things about you. And you're just showered, standing
Wow.
in front of a mirror with
Mm-hmm.
all of these positive affirmations. And it was incredible. I loved it.
That sounds like a really impactful, meaningful experience.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. It is such a shared it's strange that something can be so almost universal and so isolating.
Yes. Yes. That is strange. It
Yeah.
is. And that's such a good way to summarize that. It is so universal and so isolating.
Yeah.
And getting out of that was pretty incredible. And now I'm the fat loudmouth who, when our offices, a previous job, we moved from one office to another because ad tech, you move every year or whatever.
Right.
And I I we switched to a new office, and there were so many chairs I couldn't fit into, and I
Mhm.
raised holy hell. How
Yeah.
dare you have conference room chairs that I can't fit into?
Yeah.
That's asinine. That's horrible.
Right.
And then they would have, like, some of them, I hate those pub chairs where they'll have like a high conference table and then
Right.
pub chairs that you have to kind of crawl into. That's
Mhm.
not even about fat bodies. That's about just
Mobility.
being ableist. Yes,
Yeah.
like and so I was the one. I I'm I'm the loud one in the office who will make sure all of your chairs fit everyone,
Yeah.
and none of them, if you are in a wheelchair and we're having a conversation at work, you better be able to have that person in the wheelchair wheel up and be eye to eye to me and be on the same level and
Yeah.
not have to suffer any sort of indignity for that.
Yeah.
So do better, world,
I wish I
because
could
I'm gonna
remember.
say something.
I read this book about, I'm going to say body-centered design, but that's not what it was. I mean, it is, but that's not what the book was called. And it may have just been a chapter of a book that was about in some Nordic country where people are very tall, that they're like, some of the civil rights are about your right in education to have furniture that fits your body,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Of having a desk,
yes,
of having chairs that are high enough, tall enough for you, and desks that fit your body, and how they like wrote it into the law. I'm going to fact check myself on this to find it, but it was this country that was, they wrote it in so that, because you learn better when your furniture fits your body. You
yes.
work better when you're in a space that fits your body.
Imagine
So,
that.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here in America, in 48 states, it's legal to not hire someone because of their body size. So um, we got a lot of catching up to do here.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Yeah. That's just the start of our catch up. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those are kind of some events that led me be to find my joy and to find my love for
Mm-hmm.
this body that I have and I exist in and I deserve and I'm healthy. I, you know, at that same job that I fought for those chairs for everyone to be able to fit in, it was the same job where we had like a wellness fair, and if you
Mm-hmm.
went to the wellness fair, you got $150 credit in your health savings account.
Right.
And so I went to the health wellness fair and I failed the fair because of my BMI. And I didn't get the credit.
All they required was you to attend. You
Right.
attended.
Well, I attended, but you also had to get your cholesterol checked and you had to get your there were a couple different things. They checked your blood pressure, your
Probably
cholesterol,
sugar, maybe.
yeah, your sugar. They did like a little
Yeah.
finger prick. And mine was all healthy, but it didn't match with the size of my body, so they
Mm-hmm.
refused to accept it. And
Yeah.
since and they asked me to retake everything, so I retook everything, and they rejected that again, and then I had to actually go to another doctor to get this stupid $150 credit
Right.
that everyone else I'm sure got because they were a different BMI than I.
Yeah. So one of the things I love most in the world is showing up in first class. When I was
Mm-hmm.
traveling all the time for work,
Oh, it's so
I
good.
love being a fat businesswoman sitting in first class.
It's good.
It's
It's good.
so good. But I also love a new doctor being shocked that my cholesterol is so good, that I did my A1Cs this year, and he was like, "Oh, these are totally fine. You're
Yeah,
not, you know." People make so many jokes about diabetes and, "Oh, you eat that donut, you're going to be a diabetic." Well, that's not the science of the disease, of the
it's not.
chronic illness. And but I do feel smug when my numbers are good.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
um,
if I could make um, another recommendation for a
yes,
book,
yes.
I don't know if you've heard of her. She has written some really prolific things about being fat. She's known on the internet as your fat friend. Her name is Aubrey Gordon, and she wrote a book called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat. And that
Ooh,
it is stellar. It's amazing. She also has an incredible podcast with her co-host Michael called Maintenance Phase, and they debunk every diet out there,
wow.
and they also take you through like a lot of just it's incredibly supportive. And this book, What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat, is it's a wonderful sort of way for anyone, no matter your size, to know how to navigate the world so that it's inclusive and safe
Mm-hmm.
for all bodies and all
Yeah,
sizes. And that's beautiful and important. And I'm incredibly grateful for Aubrey Gordon's work and writing because it sustains me.
yeah.
And if it wasn't for Aubrey Gordon's work, I don't think I would have had the courage to go to Israel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So I went on a trip to Israel in 2019 with a group of women that I didn't really know.
Yeah.
And as a fat person heading up into that trip, I don't know if you remember, but I had posted on Facebook after we all met the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in
I
tears.
was gonna ask you about this, so I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Yes, yes, yes. I We had our first meeting of all of the 10 of us who were going to Israel together, and I didn't know any of them very well at all. Some I had met briefly, some I had never met. And we met at the rabbi's house,
Mm-hmm.
and we had dinner together. We kind of had a potluck get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also the time where we kind of like, who were we going to room with, and all of these sort of like things that we needed to work out to go. And I got into the car after the event and I cried so hard. I just cried so hard, and I said, I can't do this. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. And so I posted on Facebook asking for help and recommendations for the language I should use to protect myself and to really get through this. And how do I talk to these women and these people who I really did want to get to know? How do I talk to them when everything they say is like, I can't eat this because I'll get fat. I don't want to do this because I don't, like that experience in meeting these women and eating together was so traumatic and so hard that I
Mm-hmm.
can't do this trick. I can't do this trip. And you gave me some beautiful advice, and you told me to talk to them, and you gave me really important language. My friend Sean talked to me. I do think also my friend Julia talked to me, and they just, everyone kind of came together and gave me incredible language to really support myself. But I wanted to back out of that trip so many times. And even going to the airport and getting
Yeah.
dropped off at the airport, I thought, I'm too fat. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's gonna like meeting these, spending 2 hours with these these people. It was just so much. It was so hard. And I'm sure they're good intentioned, but I just can't do it. And I've never in my life been more wrong, because not only could I do it, but I did it um, in a way I think that really supported me having the courage to have the language to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
And now these women are my closest best friends. I love them with all of my heart, my soul. I would do anything for any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about them. I learned that they just needed to hear from me that them saying, I can't eat this because I don't want to get fat. I can't eat that, was them saying, they just needed me to tell them, and to hear from my words that when you say that, you're saying you don't want to look like me. And
Yeah.
that's shitty. And that
Yep.
hurts. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one person on the trip in particular, Kara, spent a lot of time on the trip talking to me about my body and complimented me throughout the trip of like, I love, I just, I love how I'm getting like all of this. I just haven't been as thoughtful about this in the past. And I love that I'm learning so much about how to support you and support other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I hope that they've learned more about that,
Yeah.
because I certainly have. And it was an incredible, life changing, beautiful experience that I almost walked away from because I didn't think I had the courage to stand up for myself.
Yeah. And because of how casual women use, instead of talking about the weather, we talk about our diets, we talk about the food, we talk about the seconds we're not going to have, and oh, the dessert looks beautiful, but can't you take it home? Can you take it to your office? I can't have it in my house. Like all that food, like negative food talk, negative body talk that we use as small talk, that is so damaging.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Because I also remember, because there was one Shabbat dinner like days before the trip.
Yes.
And you were like, okay, Leah, give me the lowdown on traveling as in Israel as a fat woman. Like, really, what are the clothes I need to bring?
Uh-huh.
Really, like, let's talk about like thighs chafing. Let's talk about
Yes.
like tank tops, the
Yes.
modesty sweater you've got to have on hand. But
Yes.
like,
Yes.
how do you stay cool enough while also like respecting the boundaries of the places you're going? And it is it all goes into every trip.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah. So thank you for talking me through that
Yeah.
because uh there was it's a complex, it's hard, and um you saved me by telling me to take a travel stool.
Right? The travel stool
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I will never travel without it again.
Right. I keep it in the back of my car. I always need a
It folds up.
three-legged. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like so small. So I don't even know if anyone on the trip really knew I had it. It
Or if
was
they
super
maybe just thought
stealth,
you were like real good at squats.
right? Right? And I would just like, oh, we're gonna stand at Golda Meir's grave for the next 40 minutes. And that's cool. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Let me just get my little stool
Yeah.
here. And yeah,
And
yeah.
I will link to this stool in the comments because a lot of these little travel camping stools are very low to the ground. And the one that I think I suggested to you that I have is a 24-inch stool.
Yep.
So it's
Mhm.
because I as much work as I'm doing on my relationship with my body, I still never want to see I don't want to sit on the ground in front of people, and because I don't want to have to stand up from the ground in front of people.
Right.
Like
That's hard.
uh although earlier this week I was in a chair in my lawn, my own furniture betrayed me. It rained a lot this week, and I was
It
talking to a
did.
friend in the backyard, and the chair sank quickly.
No.
And then I was like, "Oh, I can't get up. Oh, now I'm stuck to the chair." And I tried. The more I tried to get up, the more I pushed it into the ground.
Yep.
And she
Yeah.
was like, "We're just gonna get you up, and then we're gonna pull the chair off." And I was like, "It's what we got to do." So yeah, having a little portable stool,
Mhm.
can make a day of a walking tour so much better because for me, it's not the walking that's the problem. It's the standing.
The standing is really hard.
Yeah.
That I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to be more present. It allowed me to be more comfortable, more just happy, and
Mm-hmm.
to take in this incredible, amazing experience. Um, I loved every second, even
Yeah.
that shitty hotel room. Yeah.
With the good breakfast.
Yes.
So a book I want to recommend is Nicole Byer's book, So Fat, So Brave. The Fat
Yes.
Girl's Guide to Wearing a Bikini,
Oh, it's so
and
good.
not being so depressed.
Yes.
It is there's a few essays in it, but it is a photo album. It's a photo book. It's a coffee table book of Nicole Byer, who's the host of Nailed It and the host of Why Won't You Date Me, Best Friends, 90 Day Bay, and there's one more, Newcomers.
Yes.
And she wears like 100 different bikinis.
Yes.
But it's just this fantastic, fun, and I know Nicole, my BFF, Nicole Byer. So we were planning, I got this ad that Nicole Byer was doing a Cancun resort takeover.
Yes.
And I told you, and we're like, we're
We're
going.
in. You sent it to me. You were like,
Yeah.
do you want to, Nicole Byers in Cancun? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Done.
Don't even think about it. Where do I send my money? Let's go.
Yeah. And then it turned out it wasn't just a Nicole Byer weekend. There were like these dude comics and they were only doing like one podcast with her, and we were like, not enough Nicole Byer.
Right. Right.
But we are going to book a weekend at a all-inclusive
Yes.
Riviera Maya. We're going to tell our girlfriends.
Yes.
you can find us there this weekend.
Yes. You're welcome to also join us, but this is where we will be
Yes.
when we will be there.
Yes.
And in our individual swim up suites.
Mm-hmm. Yes. With our books and our margaritas from the margarita bar that we swim to.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be so good. But Nicole often says, she's like, don't tell me I'm beautiful. She's like, I already know. And she, I think, is uncomfortable with how inspirational she is because she's so just like in her body. She does pole. She did this beautiful book. She talks about it on stage. But it is just a full owning of her body. She doesn't do diet talk. She talks about food she loves. She talks about being strong. Her roller skate gang during the pandemic. And I feel really grateful that someone like her with a platform is just like, I guess it's a type of representation that's not always activism. It's just positive being in her body. Maybe it's because I've heard some people say body neutrality.
Yes.
Versus body positivity, that body should be neutral.
Yep.
And maybe that's what Nicole Byer does is she embodies joy and comfort and just represents it across all forms of media, and I love it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I love Nicole. I love, again, thank you, Black women, for paving the way and for teaching us how to find the language, the just how to be. Yeah.
Well, Jo, is there anything you had in your notes that I haven't asked you about that if we hang up, you're going to be like, I can't believe I didn't tell her?
No, I really wanted to talk about both of those books. I got those in. I think I got all the highlights in and everything that I felt was important and needed to be said.
Great. Is there anything you would like to promote?
No, except
no, but yes.
Right. I just want to promote you and our idea to do comedy stand-up or do a comedy show of women in their 40s or 40 plus. The comedy world needs more of us.
Yes, it does.
We're the key to the Chicago comedy community really finding itself again and kind of getting out of its it's very dude bro, and
still very dude bro.
We could do so much better and it needs us. So I'm just gonna promote the idea we have that we want to find a safe, great space for women 40 plus to do comedy, whether that be stand-up or an improv group or
sketch.
I don't know, sketch. Like, let's figure it out and I'm plugging this so we're responsible and to remind us that we can do this because I think it would be amazing.
I think it would be a blast because women over 40 have things to say and less fucks to give.
Exactly.
Less holding us back. Yeah. No, I'm into it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been so fun.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to keep looking on Instagram to see all the ice creams you're eating.
Yes.
For the rest of the summer.
Yes. If anyone wants to follow my ice cream journey on Instagram, I am the Ethical Sloth. You can find me on there. And I also promote a lot of body positivity. There's Sparkle Jams is on Instagram. Sparkle Jams is an amazing body positivity person who does incredible work in just affirmations and encouraging posts and those kinds of things. And then Also like talking about good books and Aubrey Gordon and
Mm-hmm.
Nicole Byer and all the people I love and kind of the world that makes living in this body better and
Yeah.
easier and beautiful. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you for listening to Finding Favorites with Leah Jones. Please make sure to subscribe and drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. Now, go out and enjoy your favorite things.